Now, our political gurus, David Plouffe, former senior advisor to President Obama, Stephanie Cutter, former deputy senior advisor to President Obama, and former Republican National Committee Chairman Michael Steele. Welcome all. David Plouffe, the last two presidents both had some very rough midterm election results in their first terms. What do these numbers tell you? What warning signs, if any, are you seeing for President Biden?
Well, I don't think the White House is or should worry about the midterms right now. They're still dealing with digging out of a bunch of different crises. The pandemic, which Trump ignored and made much worse, the economy, which collapsed. You've got issues around immigration and climate change, where the president, I think, is showing great leadership just as recently as last week on the latter. So their focus right now should be, let's get on the other side of the pandemic. Let's do everything we can to strengthen the economy, not just statistically, but in a real way for working people, where I think Joe Biden is uniquely suited to both talk about that and deliver on that. Listen, midterms, there's so much we don't know. Are Republicans going to get strong turnout in a post-Trump election? Are Democrats going to have strong turnout 3 elections in a row? What happens with redistricting? So right now, I think all you can do is do the right thing. And if you do that, that tends to be good politics. And so by next year, at this time, Andrea, we'll have primaries beginning to happen. Sense where the parties are enthusiastic, make some assumptions about what November may look like. But right now, the crises are still in front of them. They have a lot more work to do. Clearly, this infrastructure package and the resulting tax changes are priority number one now as they continue to get the vaccination rates out. And that's really where the focus needs to stay.
And Stephanie Cutter, you've been roundabout with the previous White House and in the past in Democratic campaigns, healthcare, like what they've done on COVID, on the pandemic, has so far been, really strong numbers. But you know what it's like to be inside during the first 100 days. What are you seeing now? What is critical for the administration to try to gain control of messaging, let's say, on something as big as infrastructure?
Well, I actually think they're doing a pretty good job. They need to stay focused on one essential thing, to make sure that the American people understand what's in that infrastructure plan. And I think there's a reason why even in the NBC's poll, the infrastructure plan is getting such high marks. People want it. People want their roads and bridges fixed. People know that they've been ignored for too long. And the White House is singularly focused on making sure that those people across the country, the moms picking up their kids from school, now that schools are opening thanks to the Biden American Rescue Plan, people trying to get, doing delivery services, small businesses trying to make ends meet. They need infrastructure. And the White House is singularly focused on making sure that those people know exactly how this piece of legislation will help them. If they can do that, and believe me, if we've all learned the hard way on the necessity to do that, back with the Affordable Care Act or the Recovery Act, people need to understand the intricacies of what's in these bills and how it will impact their lives. And I think the White House is doing a pretty good job of reaching out.
But let me just follow up to you and then to Michael as well. And David, the Republican Senate seems immune to public opinion, even among their own constituents, about some of these things. They don't seem to be recognizing the popularity of a lot of these initiatives. Stephanie, first to you. Do you see that disconnect?
Do I see that disconnect? Yes, I've seen that disconnect for a very long time, that the Republican Senate is out of step with even their own constituents in terms of wanting them to actually do their jobs and take action on their behalf. I think we're going to have to see how this plays out. I read a comment from somebody from the White House this morning saying the American people don't care how this gets done. They just want it to get it done. So we need to see how this plays out. There's movement on finding a compromise. Senator Capito is leading those efforts. We'll see where it ends up. But I think that, as it has been since day one of the Biden White House, they are looking at how to take action. What is that action? How can they keep those things moving? So with that in mind, maybe there's room for compromise. Maybe there's room for movement in the Senate through regular order, as Senator Manchin wants. It's too soon to tell. This is the beginning of that process. We're going to see some sausage making. But again, the American people don't care how it gets done. They just want to make sure that it gets done.
And Michael Steele, And by the way, really loved seeing you in the anchor chair last night. That was fun.
Thank you.
And great job. So one of the Biden voters whom our pollster spoke to said the best thing about Joe Biden was that he didn't have to think about him every day. This is a clear departure from his predecessor. It also means that Biden supporters may not be as rabid or as loyal when the going gets tough. What's your view?
That's a real concern. But, I tell you what, I think people are still connected into a lot of what is happening with this administration. To both points recently made that, hey, folks want to get it done. Stephanie's got it right. I mean, folks want to get it done. And the difference is for me that if you're going to compare and contrast, is leadership. When you look at a president who's kind of rolled his sleeves up and sitting down next to the neighbors, right? Sitting down to conversations with everyday folks about this is what we're going to do. I think people are responding to that. And so I know Republicans want to look at this through a strictly partisan lens, and they want to make this out to be a moment in which they can demagogue on, socialism and culture wars and all of that. But folks want to put the kids back in school. Folks want to get the vaccine. Folks want to go back to work. Folks want to open their shops. They want to go to their favorite restaurant. They want to hang out at the bar. They want to get ready for the summer. And Biden is creating that lane for them to do that. So this counter-negative narrative of trying to position Biden as something other than what the American people are actually seeing, I don't think it works in the short term. Long term, to David's point, may be a concern down the road how they, navigate that space when you get closer to the midterms. But right now, the president has the upper hand. It's reflected in the polling. He's talking to the American people. He's exhibiting leadership. He's demonstrating his concern and his compassion. He's not looking backwards. He's looking forward. I think the American people appreciate that because it's the first time they've seen that in 6 years.
Well, let me just do a quick rapid round, a really rapid round to all of you. For the first time ever, it's a joint session. We're going to see two women, Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi, sitting on the podium behind the president. David, your thoughts?
Oh, it's going to be awesome. That visual is going to be so powerful. But Andrea, real quick on your point about polls, 21% of the American people oppose the infrastructure plan. That means more than half of the people who voted for Donald Trump don't oppose it. But that is what's driving our politics on immigration, on the pandemic, on the economy, on infrastructure. The vast majority of the American people support measures, including the vast majority of Republicans. But the people who are going to drive Republican primaries don't. And that'll be the question on the midterms. Can Democrats make Republicans pay a price for nominating people in swing districts and Senate races and governor's races who are out of step with not just the American electorate, but a lot of Republican voters generally?
And quickly, Stephanie, seeing those two women?
Well, just imagine being a young girl across the country, seeing those two women behind the President of the United States. The only thing that would be better would be having a woman standing at the podium giving that speech. And someday that will happen. But it is a pretty historical moment of what we're about to see on Wednesday night.
Just imagine if it were a woman at the podium and two women behind her as well. Michael Steele, I assume you'd give me a big amen on that.
Amen. I love history. I love watching it unfold right in front of our eyes. And I love the fact that the American people had a hand in shaping that history. We need to do more of that as citizens to get the kind of government leadership that we need that best reflects our values, our principles, and represents us well. And I think what you'll see on that podium Wednesday night is a good example of that.
Thanks to all. David Plouffe, Stephanie Cutter, and Michael Steele. Can't think of a better